Greetings, everyone, from literally all over the world. This is an exciting event tonight. When I was asked to host and be your Toastmaster of the evening, I jumped on this wonderful opportunity, and I'm glad to see all of your faces here tonight. Using mind map and creating action is tonight's topic. And tonight we have two wonderful presenters that were going to talk to us about how to use this skill called mind mapping and to put our action, to create action with the things that we would like to do. And first up, we will have our two speakers tonight are Martin Ernst and Toastmaster Al Green, Toastmaster Martin Ernst and Toastmaster Al Green. And Martin, are you ready?
Al, I'm ready. I hope everyone can understand me, but I'm ready so far.
Okay, so allow me to turn the podium over to, yes, somebody asked, is Ramstein the oldest Toastmasters club in Germany? That is a great observation. It is one of the oldest. And with that, I will turn it over to Martin to go through the first part of tonight's presentation. Martin, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Merrick. Thank you very much, Piali, for introducing us to this topic, to mind mapping. Welcome, everybody, all around the world, basically. And I'm had already the impression that a lot of you people know mind mapping, that you sometimes use it. And I wonder if I can bring anything new to you tonight. Nevertheless, I'm prepared to share my thoughts with you and to introduce you to mind map, because we also have some people here with us who are rather new to this topic. And so it's a great pleasure for me to introduce you to the main mind mapping and tell you how you can structure your ideas, thoughts in a quite different way than, for example, with lists, with tables, or with bullet pointed text. Now, I'm a Toastmaster, and therefore it's not surprising when it comes to an example of mind mapping. I will show you later how I prepare an evaluation speech in Toastmasters with mind mapping, because I've been using this method for quite a lot of years, and I think it is also useful for this purpose. My presentation is divided in two parts. First of all, I will tell you something general about mind mapping, and in the second part, I will share my screen with you and show you step by step how you can develop a mind map. And it will be a little bit difficult to answer questions during my presentation, but nevertheless, I think we will have the opportunity later in a question and answer session where you can raise your hand and ask something you would like to know. Now, you can see mind mapping as a quick method to write down or to record thoughts, informations, or ideas. What do we need to start mind mapping? It's easy, nothing else than just a piece of paper and a pen. A piece of paper should usually have a size of between 20 to 40 centimeters, and the pen should be easy to write. If you think of a seminar or a workshop with a moderator in front, of course, you can develop a mind map on a flip chart or on a whiteboard. But let's say for the everyday use, certainly something more handy will be appropriate. Use the pen that you feel comfortable with it, and that allows you to write quick and clean. You even might think about different colors: black, green, yellow, blue, and even pink. And these might help you in structuring your thoughts, but on the other hand, they need some special attention. Mind mapping obviously consists out of two words. We have mind, that is the ideas, the thoughts, information, and we have the map, which is a drawing or a plan usually of the Earth's surface, or parts of it showing rivers, countries, towns, and so on. And that means the method somehow transfers your mind into a map. And I especially like the idea of the map, because a map is a reduced way of the reality on Earth. And it doesn't show all the details, but it shows at least major and necessary information. There are three advantages of a mind map. One is structure. What you have in your head is somehow complex. You have your knowledge, you have feelings, you have reactions, you have experience, but in every second, you get impulses or external stimuli, and they are somehow assimilated or processed in your head. And the mind map actually helps you to reduce, to minimize, to summarize all of this in a short time. Then there's illustration. The mind map is an illustrated picture that helps you to connect and illustrate the facts, and you can visualize complex content, and it is flexible. There's variability, and with this method, it is much easier to associate and to be creative. It can be extended easily, up and down and left and right. And when you have additional facts and context, and even though it is somehow structured and there's no mental filter for you. Now, how do you create, how do you make a mind map? The first or the important principle of a mind map is first associate and then organize. So you start the mind map right in the middle of the paper, of your piece of paper, and it is usually a multicolored central image, or it can be one or two keywords, and you should use a paper that is sufficient enough. Maybe 40 by 30 centimeters is a good way to do it. And then you start to draw lines from the center with meaningful keywords along each line. And each keyword can be the starting point of further keywords. That way, chains develop with levels that come more and more detailed, and the keywords you have written on it helps you to recall the top level content. You can use ideally a special or creative keywords that leave room for more association. What next? Write in block letters, and the size of the letters corresponds with the level of the branch. If possible, only write down one keyword on a line to make it somehow more handy. You can work with colors, images, symbols in different ways and shapes and sizes. You can even use arrows to link the different branches or words with each other. Now, first, associate. So that means you write down all ideas, thoughts that come to your mind. And then when you have no further ideas and associations, you look for links, you look for double answers, and you somehow analyze what you have been noted. Pay attention to hierarchies and categories. You may even find new ones, and you may even consider to redesign your mind map or make it completely new. Now, many people already have mentioned in the beginning of our session that they use mind map for different purposes. And actually, that is also an advantage for mind maps. You can use it, for example, to structure your daily tasks at work. You can use it to plan and prepare your vacations. Hopefully there will be some in the future for everyone. You can write down a shopping list in style of a mind map, or you can also use it to write down notes during a talk, during a meeting, or during a presentation. Now, I think, especially for the last aspect, which is using mind mapping during talks, meetings, or presentation, this format is ideal. Why? I would call it is the 3S. It is the 3S because while you are listening, there is speed. You must be quick to write down everything, what you receive. You just have to work on time. I would call it the 3S because while you're listening to a speech or presentation, there is surprise. You don't know what you expect. You don't know the character of the talk or the meeting, and you must be flexible in your record. And I call it the 3S because while you are listening, there is specialness. You only listen once because the presentation, the meeting, the talk is going on and on and on, and there is no time to repeat parts or to think how and what to write because everything is moving on. Now, what you have created is an excellent basis for your reaction, for your feedback, or for your evaluation of what has been going on previously. Based on this mind map, you can prepare yourself and present. If you have it, you can also, you can also use some time to add and complete the mind map without destroying it. You can, as I said, add the links between keywords. You can even add keywords. And of course, it is a great script for you, for your presentation. You have a structure for your own statement. You have a structure for your feedback, for your reaction. And you can work along this mind map to react or to give feedback. What more, with this mind map, you have a unique record that you can either keep for yourself or you can hand over to the one you're given feedback. Now, dear fellow Toastmasters, dear guests, I want to show you an example how to create a mind map. And this is why I want to share my screen with you. I'm not sure if this works out. Here we have a mind map. I think you should see now, let's say a role model or an ideal mind map for everyone. I found it on the internet. And here you see an example of what I've been trying to describe. In the middle, you have, let's say, the main topic, and you see the branches going to each side of it. Of course, you have words on each branch. You have sometimes little drawings. You have somehow connections here within the different topics. And this is a very nicely created mind map. And to be honest, I'm not the one who can do this. I'm especially not the one who can do something like that when it has to be done quickly. But nevertheless, the principle is always the same. Now I have chosen for this presentation a mind map that is based on a feedback for a speech that has been presented at Toastmasters, because I am very familiar to it. Those who are already at Toastmasters are familiar also to evaluation speeches and might find this useful for themselves. And for those who are quite new to Toastmasters or join us for the first or second time, I want to show you what you can expect when you join a Toastmasters meeting and listen to a speech or present a speech and get feedback on it. Now let's go. Let's say have our first start of the mind map. Let's imagine we have a fellow Toastmaster called Kevin Gandalf at our club meeting. He has presented a speech on in May last year, maybe, and he is working on the project to make them laugh. It should be somehow a humorous speech. All of that is the main topic of our mind map. We write it into the middle of our piece of paper, and then we already start. We have some objectives of the speech. We have a project description where he is talking about from his own experience. For example, he should also use some funny materials outside. He should present it with effective humor. That is the objectives of a speech that guides him through preparing the speech. And then the speech already starts. Yes, I'm creating this mind map during the speech is going on and on and on. Then, of course, I'm focusing on the content of the speech. He, for example, uses a dialogue, direct speech, which is nice. He has developed some general speaking skills, which are here, for example. I also take a look at the structure. How is the introduction, for example? How is the main part, and how is the conclusion of a speech? For example, he opens with a funny one-liner. This is great. I write this down. He makes a short introduction, which is always good to just to start the thing. And he uses a nice transition to the main part of his presentation. This links on the mind map. And he's talking about holidays. That is somehow the main topic of his speech. He uses somehow side stories, small anecdotes within the whole thing, which is nice. And then I come back, oh, I see how he's working on his objectives, on his speech projects. I write down, okay, he has some punchlines referring to using effective humor, and he is speaking freely without any notes, which is also nice. He has great wording with direct speech, and then he's talking about some failures in his holidays, which is part of the content, and so on and so on. He uses red lines. He has the way of using exaggeration to make it more funny, and so on and so on. That is how I create my mind map. Emotional wording, for example, vocal variety. And you see, piece by piece, bit by bit, the mind map is completed. And he uses pauses, for example. Here we have about some characters in the speech itself. And he again involves his own experience. He uses body language, something very important for nonverbal communication. But I also want to give some feedback to him, some regarding on possible improvements. That is what I write on the left-hand side of my mind map. And for example, I would suggest maybe something about body language. And I do make here a link between another branch of the mind map. He could maybe show more emotions or adapt people's behavior. And then I have maybe the speech is still going on. Yes, unexpected twist in his speech. And that is how we develop the speech. And now the speech comes to an end. So we have the conclusion. He thanks to the audience. He presents a small joke. That's it. And the important part of the conclusion could be maybe even more thoroughly designed. That is also something to write down on the mind map. And I always make a positive statement at the very end of the mind map, what I really liked about the speech. And for example, here, let's imagine he has presented an excellent story and has shown some storytelling talents. This is great. And the audience of the reaction of the audience was also very pleased. It was so really entertaining. And that is my conclusion or my resume of such a presentation, which I write here. And basically, when it comes now to use this mind map for your own presentation at the Toastmasters meeting, for example, if you are the one who gives the feedback, the evaluation speech, or think of a discussion, think of a meeting where you are asked to react on another presentation, I just work a circle from, let's say, the right top corner around my whole mind map. And that gives me a nice structure for my own speech or for my own reaction. And therefore, I have something unique and something that helps me also as a help to do my own presentation with a mind map. Basically, that's it with an example of mind mapping. Maybe something new was inside for you. Maybe you have something refreshed about mind mapping. And having said that, I would like to hand over back to our Toastmaster of the evening. I would like to hand over back to Marek.
Martin, thank you for that wonderful, wonderful presentation.
That's a pleasure.
Yes, I especially like, one of the things we talked about as we started this journey about mind mapping was what does it look like? And I really like the example that you used and that you had given us to see what the mind map looks like. And does anyone have any questions? At this time, I'll facilitate any questions to give us a little bit of time between speakers. If you have questions, you can simply raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and speak into the microphone. Or you can type your questions in chat in case you.
I have a question, please.
Go ahead, Bruno,
Okay.
go ahead.
Thank you, Merrick. Thank you, Martin, for your presentation. It was very, very interesting. I have learned many things. I have a question. What is the software did you use for make this mind mapping?
All right. I know there are some applications on the market, software products that you can use and help you with mind mapping. To be honest, I didn't use any software. I draw it by myself on a piece of paper and just transferred it into a deck of slides. So that is basically, I didn't use any software. It is just the development of a mind map, and I scanned it and put it into this presentation. So nothing special, just as I said, a piece of paper and a pen.
Okay, and how did you make the effect? You know, when you click, they appear.
Okay, no, it's basically the effect is just I created the mind map on a paper. I scanned it. I put it into a graphic software like Adobe or GIMP, and then I erased branch by branch, word by word, and saved it again. And that's it. Okay. Quite as simple, yeah.
Okay, thank you for your response, Martin. Thank you.
No, for sure.
Bruno, for you, I put a couple of mind map softwares in the chat. I just simply Googled a few free ones. They look like they're pretty easy to use, but
okay,
yes.
Great.
Thank you very much, Mary.
No problem.
Thank you, Merrick.
Yep. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Martin?
Hi, Mark, it's Magdalena speaking. So thank you for your very interesting speech. For your example, as an evaluator, so you usually are often have the chance to evaluate a speech. So do you think that it's a good idea to have a kind of template, so a mind map template for evaluation? So that you say you have a bubble in the middle which can be filled, but you have to think about the structure, the content, and just some branches you can prepare.
You are right. I did a few or quite a lot evaluation using this mind map. Nevertheless, I start always with an empty piece of paper, but you are right. I have developed a kind of structure. That means I start, let's say, on the right-hand side, I have more, let's say, something like the structure of the speech, the content of the speech, and on the left-hand side, I have more, let's say, the speech objectives according to the description of the Toastmasters project, and also the suggestions for improvement, and on top I have the things I liked most. So you are right, I have a kind of concept how I design these mind maps, and they look the same. I'm not sure if it would be helpful to have a template and to use always the same template, because it might limit the way you can design this mind map. Maybe you have one branch that is so full of sub branches, and there is so much content you want to write down. And it is, I would rather recommend to start with an absolutely empty piece of paper and then draw the lines while you're listening.
Okay, thank you. But you also, a good tip that you say you have a structure in mind, so you start clockwise with the content, with the, okay, thank you.
I have one question, Martin. This is Melanie speaking.
Yeah.
And thank you for that nice presentation. I really like the idea, and I love that picture that you picked there, which was so nicely decorated. Do you have advice how to start into mind mapping, like a simple example? I was first thinking of the shopping list.
Mhm.
Because I think if you have a too complex thing and you want to start with mind mapping, then you maybe get lost. Do you have an advice just for a simple example to start with?
No, I totally agree, Melanie. If you're new to mind mapping, you shouldn't start with the complex preparation of whatever yearly meeting of your club or something. No, you should use it in everyday life with something more simple. A shopping list may be a good start. It may be also a good start, let's say, if you have a daily to-do list, for example, at work or somewhere, and to create this to-do list not as a kind of list with line by line, but making it in the style of a mind map. And then just see you are familiar with this, doing it, but doing it in a different way. That might help you. And then you can compare, even see if it helps you better to organize your day. But definitely start with something simple. Definitely recommended, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Are there any other questions? Okay, Toastmaster Green, are you ready?
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here already.
Okay, well, I got to introduce you first, so let me do
Okay.
that.
No problem.
So Al Green, DTM, member of Ramstein Speakers Association, has been a Toastmaster for over 10 years within various clubs and has held various leadership positions. Part of this workshop's goal is to provide tools that would help you rid you of your fear of public speaking through taking action. I want to say the term for fear of public speaking is glossophobia. I think that's right. I heard that used in the Toastmaster speech recently, and I was pretty interested with the word. So please, everyone, help me welcome Toastmaster, distinguished Toastmaster Al Green.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, Al, we can hear you.
Great.
Good.
Well, I'm trying to get my mind together because of all the words that are going in my head right now. Martin, I have to say, great presentation. Definitely, you gave me some tips already in how I can present myself here today. But you know, it's very important whenever you're giving a speech that it's supposed to create action. And of course, all the words in your mind does create certain actions. For example, nervousness. Why am I here? Question comes in your head. I want to leave this podium immediately. What's going on? I can't hear anything. I can only hear myself. So these are a lot of things that go on in your mind as you stand there. But most important, your words are to create action through speaking. I propose a question. Why did you become a Toastmaster? Take a few minutes and think about that. Well, not a few minutes, a few seconds, we'll say, and think about that question. Or as a guest, you can ask yourself, is Toastmaster something for me? Because it's all about speaking. Do I speak at work? Do I speak to my friends? Do I speak to my husband? Do I speak to my wife? Do I speak to my cats? Do I speak to my dogs? Do I speak to my birds? How are they listening to me? Am I effective enough when I'm speaking to them? Is that bird actually going to chirp better when I speak to that bird? Or is that cat going to meow better when I speak to the cat? But anyway, ask yourself the question, why did I become a Toastmaster? Or why should I become a Toastmaster? Give me a couple of responses, then we'll continue on. Anyone out there wants like to answer?
I'll help you out, Al. I became a Toastmaster because I wanted to not only improve my public speaking ability, but I also wanted to help and encourage others that had fears of public speaking.
Okay, that's a great answer. Any other answers out there?
Actually, I can add to that. I thought it sounded like a lot of fun, and a side benefit was improving speaking and helping others to do so.
Only two? Must be some more answers out there. Give me a couple more answers, someone.
Okay, I can. Yeah, who's sorry? I can't see who's talking. So okay.
Yeah, you can
okay,
go
you
first.
go.
Okay, thank you so much. So I became a Toastmaster because I just didn't want it to be a speaker, but an influential speaker. A speaker in the room to which the whole audience will leave a whole other their work and they'll just listen to me. I wanted to be that type of speaker. And thus I joined the Toastmasters.
Great.
Okay.
Anyone else? One more.
I can go next. So the reason why I joined Toastmaster is because I wanted to work further on my communication skills because I think that's one of my strengths. So when you're good at something or you think you're good at something, I think it's even better to work more on that. So that's one of the reasons, but also obviously to connect with other people. So yeah, those are two reasons why I joined. Yeah.
Great answers. But I have a few answers I think that you can take away, and you have something to write with. Take some notes if you like. Some answers I thought about: better my speaking abilities. I remember starting out as Toastmaster. I was always afraid of table topics, extemporaneous speaking, and over the years as a Toastmaster, it has helped me a lot. Whenever I'm faced with a question without preparation, I'm totally prepared, but I still get nervous. And also, some of you may have joined because you want to give speeches, you want to be heard, you want the applause, right? I mean, everyone wants to be praised when they do something great. So, a lot of people they've joined because they just want the applause. They've heard about Toastmasters. When you stand up there and you get done speaking, everyone claps. You feel great. You feel like, you've done the best you can. So the applause is sometimes really helpful. And also the rid yourself of fear. The fear will never go away, actually. You'll always be afraid when you give us a chance, when you have the chance to talk. Doesn't matter if it's just for 1 minute, 30 seconds, or however chance you have, you will always be afraid. But the tools that Toastmasters provides you gives you the opportunity how to put those fears at bay. But the number one answer, I think, is build confidence. You have to build confidence. And I think Toastmasters, given all the leadership material that it has out there, communication materials that it has out there, it definitely helps confidence. So I think the number one answer, confidence building, is very important. So moving on to the next slide, who benefits from your speech? Can anyone give me an answer? Just one person, maybe two?
I always profit from any of the speeches I see.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, the audience profits.
Great.
Hopefully.
That's a great answer. That's
Hopefully.
a great answer. Well,
Yeah, I can also say something. Okay, you go.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say I think either the audience benefits from the speech, but also you, because you hold the speech and you are working constantly on yourself. So basically, it's a win-win situation for both.
Yes, definitely. So if you see, I have 7 points that I've written down here. You can go and read them yourself. It could be one person out of 1,000 people sitting in front of you. It could just be one person that actually got the message. That's a good day, believe it or not, because you'll never know who actually benefits from your speech. You'll never see that bright light over their head while you're standing there, because the main thing that you're thinking about is wanting to get this speech done. The listener who leads away with a takeaway message, always think about the takeaway message. That open, that body, the close, it could come anywhere there. In the beginning could be your takeaway message. In the middle, sometimes everyone wants the end to be the takeaway message, but sometimes the beginning can be a takeaway message, a prop you can use, a story you can tell. You know, always a surprise is sometimes really good to use, and it can really help a takeaway message. And as someone mentioned already about the audience, focus on the benefits of your audience. That's why you're there, to give them something so they can react. You know, you don't want to cheat your audience. You know, the umbilical cord is so important, isn't it? You would say, right? So why would you cut that? Why would you cut the umbilical cord too early? If you do that, the nourishment goes away. So you want to connect with your audience all the time. You want to ignite that fire from within the person sitting there listening to you speak. So it's very important that you inspire and unite and motivate them to take action. Wouldn't you agree? Great. The next slide. Every time you speak, you're giving. Wouldn't you think so? Any responses out there?
Yes, you are.
Don't be shy. You guys, you can speak if you want. So, yeah, every time you're speaking, you're giving, and that's important. And when you're standing there, you want, you took your time to prepare the speech. It may have taken you 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year to prepare that speech. So you want to give the audience something that they can take away, as we talked about in the previous slide. So some points that I think that are important: your inner passion. That's important. Bring that passion out of you. You can use it. You can have your eye contact, your body movement, your vocal variety. Passion drives all of that, and that's what you want to do when you're speaking to your audience or whoever you're speaking to. You want to give that. Giving an important part of you. So if the audience or the listener sees that you're giving yourself to them, they're more connected. They're willing to take that information and run with it. So it's very important to give them the important part of you. The listener has all kinds of ideas. So you have the opportunity to ignite those ideas in the listener's head, to take action when they leave that location where you're speaking. They're thinking, wow, now I have an idea of my next speech, or I have a next idea at my job. I can take this idea and plant it in the ground and watch it grow. Hug with words. Dazzle your listeners. It's important that you dazzle them. You use all kinds of words, and with those words, you can use vocal variety. Sometimes it really, really helps. Eye contact, just pausing effectively enough, helps those, dazzlement your audience. And you give your listener courage. Think about it. You're there. You're standing there. You have all the courage. You think, I am now prepared to give this speech. But it's not about you. It's about the listener. You're giving them courage to say, okay, when I leave here, I'm going to take that step towards whatever goal they may have. You are important to the listener. And again, give them what they came for. That's important. You all are here today because you came for a reason. Mind mapping attracted you. And you all talked about mind mapping. I was wondering, well, maybe I don't have to speak tonight because it seemed to all be worried about mind mapping. Not, but nevertheless, it was great. And that's just why you came. So make sure, give them what they're there for, the listener, the audience, wherever platform you're in, give them that. And are you guys still with me?
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Share your passion. We talked about that, about your passion. Do you remember this individual? Who do you know who this is? Anyone?
Martin Luther King.
He had great hand gestures, didn't he? Didn't he? Yes? No?
No, yes, yes.
Yes.
Right.
I'd agree, yes.
He connected with his audience with his hand gestures. There were thousands of people there. His eye contact, even though he couldn't look someone straight in the eyes, but his eyes spoke. So share your passion. Remember, you prepared your speech. You prepared it to give them something, to connect with them. That
He
person.
gripped people. I'm so sorry. He gripped people with his voice.
Exactly. So his vocal variety, his pauses, his eye contact, not a lot of body movement, but it's just his pauses were effective. Those are some of the tools that you can use to grasp your audience, to connect with them. So I'm going to give you some ideas that you can use. Use your speaking tools to persuade your listener. Tell them why it's important to act. And he did that. He told them he had a dream, that things would change. To tell them again. Make sure that they know it. If you have to tell them 1,000 times, tell them again why you're there. Tell your story. We all have a story. It's all important. Everyone loves listening to stories. It captivates us, for sure. Create a sense of urgency. Use words like today, now, in the next 24 hours. Think about it. When you say, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to do this now, think of how you feel inside. Now is so important. I'm going to do this today. The next 24 hours, I'm going to be different. Those are important things to get your audience moving into action. Tell the audience what's in it for them. Give them a reason why they need to act. A reason why the next speech is important. The reason why the next project is important, because it's all about giving. Use words to evoke emotion and enthusiasm. What I'd like you to do is, it would make me so happy, F you. And everyone knows the famous one, yes, you can. Everyone knows that, right? And then you see in yellow there, the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is action. Wouldn't you say so? So those are my slides. That's my information. I think what I provided you today can help you in the future. It can help your listener, your audience, or whatever platform that you're in. It can make a big difference. So when the next time you stand there and speak, give them what they came there for. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Green. Give them what they came there for. I think every time each one of us steps up to the podium to give a speech, every time we're trying to articulate the words that inspire people, that create action, and that create and make other Toastmasters want to continue down the path, no pun intended for pathways, but continue down the path of becoming a better speaker. And it's an amazing thing. I quoted this to somebody the other day. When you think about how words can inspire action, and how words or the sound of someone's voice is almost like music to your ears. If you've ever heard that statement before, you know, the words were like music to my ears. Because words, when set in the right manner, can create emotion. If you've ever said something to someone that made them feel elated or happy, or if you've ever, if someone's ever said something to you during a time of grief that made you really sad, it was the tone of their voice, it was the inflection in their voice, it was the words that they said and the way that they said them that made your brain process them and trigger emotion inside you. And so words can be a very, very powerful thing when used in the right way. So today, I'd like to thank our guest speakers for coming out tonight and talking to us about mindfulness and talking to us about ways to get over our fear of public speaking. I think this was a great seminar tonight. I'm going back in the gallery view on my computer so I could look at everyone. And at this time, if anybody has any questions for Toastmaster Green, we'll gladly open the floor and allow questions or comments. Mel, you've raised your hand.
Yes, I've got two questions actually, and Al, thank you for this great speech. I really loved it. And the one question would be, is it possible to share those slides as well? Because I didn't take notes. I didn't have a mind map on hand to.
Yes,
But
yes.
But I would really love to
problem.
have those points again in front of my eyes. And then I have a practical question. Just imagine you have to convince a team of very technical engineers to use a specific kind of software.
Right.
Do you think those points that you would just bring could be also used to drive them crazy about using a new piece of software, because until now they don't want to touch it? They are like, oh no, it's a new tool. Do you think you could make up also a speech convincing them to use a new piece of software?
Right, of course. I just said that, why would you cut off your customers? If you're an engineer, you want to be able to have your customers react to something that you create new. So why would you do that? So yes, I've had environments where I've had to speak to technical individuals, and at first everyone was so, as I say, uptight and so afraid to speak. In the end of the meeting, they were all really talking. So yes, the slides I think can help, but it's all about your message, all about what you want to present. Why are you there? Let them know how important it is that that product that they have is for the rest of the world, because it can make a change. It can make a big difference in someone's life or in a company's existence. So yes, I think the slides will be really helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, that was a brilliant point, Mel. To add on to that, yeah, I have faced also work environments where very old technologies were proposed to be replaced by new, and there was a real cohesion in the team, and people did not want it to be replaced. So maybe you find some use cases which would be motivating for them as well, and telling them, look, the technology that you've been using will phase out in years to come. So if you learn something new, it'll be an addition to your skill set as well. Yeah, these might be some of the motivating aspects that you can place. Yeah, and when you talk, obviously if you follow Al's presentation, you talk with passion, which comes across as more convincing as a nonchalant method of speaking might not bring out the best message. Yeah.
Right.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Bruno.
Yes, Bruno.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little bit frustrated because I'm not fluent in English, and I will try to explain what I want to ask to you all. First of all, thank you for your presentation. It was very interesting. I'm used to make a workshop about public speaking in different situation. I used to in school or in professional area or in prison. I used to meet some people in prison and speak about public speaking. But this afternoon I was on school. A school with 17, 16 years old. And it was very hard to give information about public speaking, about to be confident. Uh, it was very hard. And my question all is, when you have a people, people we don't want to listen about your subject. how, uh, how did you make it? How did you change the mindset? Or I don't know. I need a technique
Yeah,
because I think it's more hard to speak with people in school than to speak in prison, because they don't want to listen about the need to be confident when you speak. So
right.
I want to know if you have some technique. I want to hear it.
So it's very important to know your audience, of course. And of course, you have to vary your approach. And as I said, you may not get everyone accepting what you said, but someone even though whatever age they are, they're going to accept it. Someone's going to remember what you said. It may not be at that moment. It could be years from now, but remember your audience, know the topic, continue your speech as you always do, with passion, provide the information. Believe me, it may not happen at that moment, but eventually it will sink in and they'll say, "Oh, I remember once Bruno told me this," because it's all about the future. It's
Yes.
all about what you planting the seed in their minds. Every
Okay.
seed won't grow, but some seeds are going to take into the ground and grow. So don't worry about the size of your audience. Think about your message. Think about your audience. Think about what you want them to take away when they listen to you. That's my
Yes.
opinion.
Yes, Al, if I can, my
Thank you
take
all.
on it. Really brilliant words, Al, and maybe to adjust it to your audience. Well, if you are speaking to some impressionable kids, impressionable teenagers, maybe
Right.
you start with something which is commonplace for them, like a football or a basketball. Dribble it, or and you bring analogy to something they know, and then move it to something very hard. So for prisoners, if you want them to be interested, you talk about prison life, you talk about a person who was in the prison and came out great, like for example, Andy Dufresne from Shawshank Redemption. Okay, he actually escaped from the prison. A very nice movie. If you would watch it, it's from like Shawshank Redemption, a Hollywood movie. He actually escaped from the prison. We don't want your the prisoners to escape, but it had deep rooted message about institution being institutionalized. And yeah, so maybe you take something which they know and bring it slowly to a topic that they don't know. Yeah,
Right.
Bruno.
Thank, thank you.
It's,
Thank you for your response. Thank
I was going to add something to this. In a book that I read recently or listened to, it was an audio book. The title of the book was um, "Talk Less, Say More." And in the chat, you'll see that I put in there 4 letters, PMOC, and they refer to it as the PMOC. Does anybody know what the PMOC is? Anybody want to take a guess? It has something to do with communication. But I'll tell you. Wait, somebody chatted? Let's see. So the PMOC is the preferred method of communication. And in this book, it talked about whenever you communicate with someone, we all have our own methods of communication. And unfortunately, when we're trying to convey, convince, and connect, convey, and convince, 3 C's. We have to adapt to what somebody else's preferred method of communication is. Because if theirs is not like ours, then you'll find yourselves not communicating. And this is something as simple as is your preferred method of communication is picking up the phone and calling you. If I send you an email with something really, really urgent, you won't pay any attention to it because your preferred method of communication for urgent matters is telephone calls. So that's one of the things that, like Al was saying, you have to know what these things are when you're communicating, and knowing your audience and knowing their preferred method of communication, especially when it's in a one-on-one situation, is really, really important.
One thing that I had reinforced repeatedly to me when I was teaching undergrads is that they don't necessarily want the same information graduate students do. And that kind of relates in an offhand way to what you're saying. They want the story because the story helps them remember. What the grad student may want is 20 references to say that what you told them was true. But that's not what the undergrad wants. That's what the professor thinks the undergrad and the grad student want. And the grad student only wants it if it relates to what they're studying. But I would have students come back to me and say, I remember this because you told this story. The story is what matters. You compile all the facts you want to onto it, but tell the story and tell it well. My personal attitude is that I will give the speech. I will enjoy giving the speech. And 9 times out of 10, so do other people. Yep. But if I'm not up there enjoying it, they're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah, that goes back to that old saying. Oh man, it just left me. It was an old saying about telling a story. And the moral of the story is, right, whenever you tell a story and you wrap it up, everybody always says, you could be a 2-hour-long presentation that you get down to a couple of words at the end that say, and the moral of the story is.
Sort of like Paul Harvey.
Yeah, I think Al, Merrick, Sherry, me, all of us were saying, or all of us were talking about the same thing packaged in a different way. Yeah. Right. Yeah, Sandra, you wanted to say something.
Yes. Well, I don't know exactly what his presentation is in prison, but I'm a teacher, so I've taught like teenager kids. So depending on what topic you're gonna present, I think you always have to kind of see what do they need. I mean, people in prison, I don't know exactly what you have to present. Maybe you can tell me, but it's always important to connect something with their life that they have, kind of, because you want to have an impact on them. So you have to be like, it has to be close to them. They have to kind of, how would you say, identify themselves with something, it makes it easier. So I don't know what he presents in prison. It depends what kind of topic, but even mind mapping, you could also ask them, what do they want to know? I mean, you won't reach every student, that's normal. But like Al said, if you have one person that's gonna listen and you have an impact on one person, it's probably worth a lot in prison, because I think it's very difficult in that situation, in that field, but you have to always get close to them and what are their needs, and so you can have you connect it. And I also found the idea good of, I don't know her name, with a story, and start with something that they are familiar to. In prison, like I said, it's a very difficult situation, but maybe they also have certain interests in prison, or they do something. So I would always pick something from their life that they have, and go from there. So you have to catch them somehow, because if you don't have something that you can catch them, you won't kind of draw their attention. It has to be something that they are familiar, where they can identify themselves, because if not, they're just gonna, okay, what is he talking about? I mean, that's what I think. And yeah, and that's my perspective as a teacher, and also working, I've been working with teenagers in that age.
Okay, great.
Yes, totally relatable.
Great.
I mean, the best combination would be like using mind map and getting the message across to your audience. Yeah, that's the perfect combination. So the best takeaway from this workshop today would be that you combine those two tactics and maybe become the world champion of public speaking at Toastmasters. Yeah. All of you
Great.
are Toastmasters here in this round, or is there anyone who's new to the concept?
I'm not.
Maybe we being a nice bunch of people, I tend to believe that we are nice. Maybe we convince you to join us. Yeah?
Or at least come to a meeting. Von
Yes.
Sandra, have you been to a Toastmasters meeting yet?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
So this will be a great opportunity for you to find a club, because with Corona, we've somehow migrated to meeting online. So I'm in Virginia in the United States, but I routinely go to meetings in Germany. I actually attended one in Malta about a week ago. So you can literally go anywhere in the world to a Toastmasters meeting of your choice and meet really interesting and nice people because we're everywhere. So I encourage you to find a club. I'm sure somebody in this group will invite you to their club meeting, and maybe you can find a Toastmasters home.
Thank you for the invitation.
I think
Say second the motion, because I've been Zoom globetrotting Toastmaster style for quite a while now. It's an education. It's an opportunity to share things you know, share ways you do things. They share the same with you. If you learn about cultures, and some clubs are more formal than others. In some clubs, okay, I usually go by Sherry. And in some clubs, I would be Distinguished Toastmaster Dr. Sherry Washford. And that's exactly the way they'd refer to me every time they spoke about me or to me. Now, most of the clubs I visit say Sherry. I'm fine with Sherry, but I will deal with the other as well. And I will also deal with people in those more formal clubs in exactly the same way they deal with me. But that doesn't mean they're not friendly clubs.
Right. And, and just to caveat on that, so Toastmasters, as all of you know, it gives you the opportunity to learn how to control a meeting, how to, perform the perfect, not perfect etiquette, but how to have etiquette at a meeting, because we've all sat in meetings and we've seen people stand up there and they forget to introduce the most important person or the less important person. Well, so it's all about etiquette. So I think a lot of these tips and tools that we sharpen, because Toastmasters, when we meet, it's just a place to sharpen your tools. That's all that's we're there to do. So when you leave the Toastmasters meeting, that's where you're supposed to shine, because when people listen to you speak, they say, my God, why are you so good at speaking? Where did you learn that? You can say Toastmasters. And that means, so that's how so it's not about you, as I said, it's about connecting with the person that's listening to you, or the person that's listening to you. So you'll be able to say, I have the tools to make myself effective when I'm out there speaking. So.
Absolutely right, Al. And being your area director today, it gives me great pleasure. We have awesome clubs in area F1. So I would open the podium for Martin, for Lay, for Merrick, for Al to give some details to our audience today in the chat, so that they can, at least the mail ID where they can contact you if they want to come to a club meeting. And Martin or Lay, maybe you want to tell something about BASF.
Yes,
Because
why not?
yes.
Thank you for the opportunity, Piali. First of all, thank you to you for organizing this, for making it possible, and for your strong support.
No problem.
And
It was a delight.
we have this workshop actually on the usual time slot we meet at BASF Toastmasters in Ludwigshafen. And so we were somehow organizing it together. And we have our meetings on the 2nd and on the 4th Monday each month. So we start at 5:45, and the meeting usually runs until 7:30. At the moment, we are still meeting just online. So wherever you are, you're very welcome to join in. And we are open, of course, for colleagues who work at BASF, but a lot of our members, for example, like Lei here, who is with us, don't work at BASF, so they come and visit us. So it is a great group of people working at our company, but also a lot of people who come from somewhere else and joining us. So we invite everybody to join us. And if you want to get more out of it, you can also visit our website, which is basf-toastmasters.com.
Thanks, Martin. And about Rammstein speakers, if you want any contact details to be shared.
So Piali, I will put, I got your message. I don't know why in the chat people aren't allowed to copy and paste. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a Word document that I will share with everyone who registered for today's meeting, because I have all your email addresses. So I will share with you the video from this. I will share with you the presentation slides, and I'll also share with you the Word document that has the mind map links on it, Sherry's information for her Toastmasters meeting. And if anybody else wants to chat the Toastmasters meeting, I can type pretty fast, so I can type it into this Word document and then upload it for everyone to use. To go back, and this is to piggyback on the meeting part, I always tell people, if you ever go into a meeting and they don't have an agenda, and this is something Toastmasters teaches you, you should get up and walk out and leave, because you're going to waste your time most of the time, because the meeting will go off the rails. There's no structure and no organization. And what Al said is 100% correct about being in Toastmasters. I have been told several times and asked several times, how is it that, one, I can run a meeting really, really efficiently, and two, I don't do a lot of ums, ahs, and all the things a grammarian would find or an accountant would find in a Toastmasters meeting. And people will notice it, and people will then ask you, well, how did you get there? And I say simply Toastmasters. I waited late in life to do it. I wish I'd have done it earlier, but I'm here now, so we're making the most of it. Sherry, you have your hand up.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't.
And back to you, Piali.
No, thanks a lot, Merrick. It was great to have all of you here. And if you want to say something, you have some feedback for us, we are all ears. Feel free to unmute yourself and share it with us, because as Toastmasters, we expect, or we hope to make every evaluation count. So your feedbacks are also important to us, and we strive to be better every single day. Yeah. So feel free to unmute and share, or there is any information you want to share about yourself or your club, want to invite us to your club, we can hop in to your club on one fine day. Yeah.
So I would like to thank Piali, Al, and Martin for doing this event. I think the format of having a multi-club event like this is a very good format, and I'm looking forward to any similar event in future.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rolf.
Thank you. Thank you.
We also have Tim. Has some of you, I believe, are not revealing about. There are some couple of area directors here. Tim had an excellent area contest running as E1 area director, District 95, yesterday, right, Tim?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still recovering.
Yeah. Sherry,
that has actually been an education in itself, doing all the Zoom contests, because I've taken every opportunity, partially to help my club and partially to help others, to judge, be ballot counter, be Zoom master, which they foolishly let me do in one club, or to be timer, any of those things. I'm up to 20 some clubs I've done that in around the world. And they don't all do it exactly the same way, and they don't all necessarily follow the same new contest rules, but they're trying very hard to adapt. Some of them are having issues trying to adapt the old way and shove it into the new way, and others are trying to do just the opposite, adapt and shove the new way into the old way. The ones that are more successful are actually those who have read that book.
Yes. Yeah, Sherry, this is also Toastmaster teaches me to be relentless always. This the feeling that comes from absolutely non-voluntary activities, like Sherry, you're going visiting 20 clubs and you're giving your precious time to the clubs with absolutely, and your takeaway is meeting some great people, hearing some good speeches. So that's the only takeaway we have at Toastmasters, and it enriches us, I believe, as human beings. Yeah, I love to hear people speak as much as I love to speak myself, but it's also very nice to learn from each and every one speak. Yeah.
It is.
Okay, so we are on time, I would say. Okay, Singhad Toastmaster Club from Pune, India is inviting you guys to their meeting. This is the page. Awesome. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Karishma. We would like to use this opportunity also to visit a club in India. Very nice. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Karishma.
Yes, yes, we can all connect. We meet on Sunday, so it would be a great opportunity for all us.
Very nice. Okay, on that note, I would say absolutely punctually at 1929, like real Toastmasters, we come to a close. And have a great evening, everyone, and have a great start to this week. Hope
Thank
to
you.
meet all of you in another time, in another meeting. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank